Sorry for the lateness of this one, but it is time once again for the APB recap. As usual, this video will be recapping some of the events that happened in the previous stream, some events, but not all of them, and they're gonna be delivered in a more advertiser-friendly manner. So if you want to see me and my brother swear like a sailor, there's a venue for that, and that's the stream, and it's a lot of fun. My brother is also doing his own solo stream, playing games and all that, so don't forget to check that one out as well. Stream channel link down below. Go subscribe. Oh wow, we're starting with quite the banger here. You know how big companies are supposed to hide the fact that they're evil and scummy to most people? To most people, I say, not to you and me. You and I, we can smell these big corporations a mile away. Point is, most big companies try to hide that they're evil, but Activision Blizzard decides to take it to the next level. Activision Blizzard advises stockholders to vote against harassment reports. That's right, the company advises the stockholders to vote against harassment reports. You know, the very same reports that put them in Lord knows how many harassment scandals that they went through in the first place. Like, how can you be even more blatantly evil? I am genuinely asking, how can this big video game corporation that got roped in all sorts of scandals be even more blatantly evil than this? But no, they're not actually being evil, guys. They do all of this so that instead of diverting energy and resources towards creating yet another report, they should just continue to directly respond to employee concerns. In other words, deal with the problem off the record so that it stays off the records. Don't worry, guys, we are committed in transparency in the same way that we're committed in keeping Tracer's butt to be as flat as an ironing board. All of this happens at the same time as their California investigation, which apparently impacted 2,500 people who could deserve as much as $930 million in recompense. They were even accused of threatening employees for speaking out against their horrible workplace. Again. All of this also happens at the time where their active users are plummeting, and I mean plummeting. 60 million active users lost. Thank you. We need less people playing their games and contributing profits into this garbage freaking company. Here's one hot take for you guys. Did you guys know that emulation is stealing? Or at least according to this hot poster, who I'm just gonna call Anon to make things easier. So oh no, it's Alex posted a video where he gave a tutorial in how to emulate the Nintendo 64. One of the replies to the tweet is from Anon saying, "This is no different from saying how to bootleg a new movie so theaters don't rip you off, or let's burn each other's CDs so Capitol Records don't rip us off. Stealing is stealing." Yes. And
I missed the part where that's my problem.
big corporations make the worst crap and exploit the consumers for nostalgia and profit, so I don't see anything wrong with pirating or bootlegging stuff. I mean, have you seen what Disney did to get all the theater spots and screw over all the films that were released at the time? That's not the first time they did that, by the way. They straight up screwed over lots of films that were released during any point where they have any of their films released. Or what about recently, where Xbox's always online DRM screwed over lots of legally paying consumers that want to play single-player games? Terrible DRMs, horrendous prices for old games through the official and the unofficial ways, big corporations making the worst crap. Can you believe why people chose to pirate stuff? Can you believe why people chose to bootleg stuff? I'll pay if they deserve it, and I don't if they don't. And yes, I'm applying that to my own content too. At one point, Linus from Linus Detectives actually said that ad blocking video content is piracy. In that case, you're free to install ad blockers like uBlock Origin in my content all you like. Heck, go even further and install privacy badger so that you don't get tracked by the ads. Your privacy and security is more important than my ad revenue. But if you want to support this channel, the options are available, link down below. And I haven't even pulled off the, well, actually, it's getting the ROMs for the games that are illegal, but the emulation itself isn't illegal. Even if this statement is wrong, it's not. I don't care. And neither should you. The only one who does are corporate bootlickers like Anon. Believe me, Anon, I am struggling to sympathize with the companies that you are defending. Alex replied, "Nintendo is selling you ROMs and emulators that are objectively worse." And it's true. Check out Modern Vintage Gamers' video. They're improving, yes, but they were pretty bad at release. And then Anon replied, "Excusing away stealing doesn't make it stealing. I'm not saying you're wrong." Okay, hold on a second there, Anon. If you accuse someone of stealing, then the implication of that accusation is that you think the person that you accuse is in the wrong. Otherwise, Why even point that out? Anand continues by saying, it's these companies' right to do with their property what they chose. In other words, I don't care if companies make crap, it's their right to make crap. Which is true. Nintendo has the right to make bad products with their intellectual properties. We also have the right to not tolerate them and inform other people about cheaper and better alternatives, even if they're straight up illegal. The difference between the people and the big companies is that companies have the legal backings to screw us over. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral. Alex said that emulation isn't illegal and the decision to dump the ROMs or downloading the ROMs is the viewer's decision. He doesn't like to be ripped off by Nintendo, just like everyone else who are not Nintendo bootlickers. But Anand continues by saying, okay, wink wink, we're only gonna emulate the games we own, I got you. Let's be real, you know exactly what I meant. I know exactly what you meant, Anand. You'd rather people pay 81 bucks for a copy of Super Mario Bros. On the NES instead of downloading the ROMs for free on the internet. Gotcha. I haven't even showed the rare mint version, which is like 6,000 bucks. Can you believe why people chose to sail the 7 seas? I already have a video talking about how I sailed the seas. Go check that out. And if you have any questions, my Twitter DM is open and my email is linked down below. I have loads of happy sailors. I'm willing to guide you all through all of it personally. More bad news have emerged in the NFT market, which is a huge shame for big corporations that want to exploit the living crap out of their consumers, and a huge win for everyone else. There's an article on Wall Street Journal talking about how the sales of NFTs are flatlining. Now, there are some legitimate criticisms on the article because the article is apparently not quite representative of the reality of the situation, or at least according to the crypto bros, but that's just one out of the many statistics that have shown that there is a decrease on interest towards NFTs. I already talked about some of them a couple of times, including in my last video talking about Square Enix's acquisition. One of the statistics that you can look at is active wallets. Credit to Upper Echelon Gamers for talking about this in this video. Active wallets are decreasing in the past few months. Most NFT transactions are being made by the very few NFT owners. This reminds me so much of the Twitter statistics that I talked about years ago, where 80% of the tweets that you see online are made by like a tenth of the Twitter population. That number is even smaller when you think about how many people are in a certain country and how many of them have Twitter accounts. Spoiler alert, not a lot. There are like 68 million active Twitter users in the US in 2019 when there are like 328 million people in a whole US population. That's roughly 20% of the population who are active users in the platform, and combined with the previous statistics, that's roughly 2% of the population making all the top tweets. That's why Twitter and social media in general is not a representative of real life. Social media represents the most active users and posters of that site rather than the silent majority. This is why it's incredibly difficult for people who are not the typical Twitter users, as in the left-leaning progressives, to get a voice in social media, because most people who are not in that demographic are not using social media that these people are using. We're never going to be listened because most of you don't use Twitter, and understandably so. But in the case of NFTs, it's even worse. Why? Well, if most of NFT trades are made by the very few people who own NFTs, then that would mean that those same few people who make the NFT trades are the same ones that are doing it to launder money. That, or they make those transactions to manipulate the market and making it seem like NFTs are doing successfully when they're really not. I mean, again, the person who bought Jack Dorsey's first tweet NFT lost millions of dollars because no one wants to buy a tweet. And you're an idiot if you think otherwise. 2 weeks ago, I talked briefly on the stream about how the owners of the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs are losing the NFTs, which at this point is the real-world digital equivalent of Ape Escape. The hackers are going to the social media of the owners of the Bored Ape Yacht Club's Instagram account and trick the users into clicking all sorts of dodgy links. Then there's this hoopla involving Axie Infinity, where hackers stole $625 million worth of digital assets, implying that they're assets to begin with. Considering how NFTs got hacked every month, maybe even every week at this point, and considering how a lot of transactions are made by the very few people, considering how game companies that tried NFTs are failing, it's no surprise that most people are against this idea wholeheartedly and want this thing to just die already. Speaking of cryptocurrency, remember when I talk about how the gaming market is healing? Yeah, I was a year too early. It's still bad compared to the normal years, but nowadays, I can definitely say for sure that GPU prices are getting lower. Now, I did mention this article in that video talking about how the NVIDIA CFO said that GPU shortage is not really due to crypto mining, but rather a shortage of chips in general, which affected all the industry. And that's true, but it's really not helping matters when NVIDIA is selling crypto miner GPUs that are exclusive for mining. Well, it turns out that NVIDIA are a bunch of liars. NVIDIA is told to pay $5.5 billion fine by the Securities Exchange Commission, or the SEC, for failing to disclose GPU crypto mining sales. The company didn't admit to wrongdoing, but will pay a $5.5 million civil penalty after the SEC said NVIDIA failed to tell investors of a significant portion of 2018 sales were due to crypto mining. 2018! That's way before the whole GPU shortage of 2020. During the whole pandemic years, I have always recommended people to get a gaming laptop because their prices are much better compared to building a PC yourself. And yes, I have counted. I put them on a spreadsheet myself, or at least for the PC that I'm aiming for, and my laptop in particular. That's why I aim for a laptop, and honestly, it's a much better investment in my opinion because I do like myself a beastly portable machine that I can just bring back and forth between home at work, especially at work when, the boss isn't looking. So hopefully people can afford better PCs and gaming hardwares in the future, and people can reap the benefits of PC gaming, and these cryptocurrency, crypto mining stuff can just die already at this point, seriously. This trend is hurting the gamers, hurting the people's ability to play video games, and the chip shortage is just getting worse and worse, and these guys are really not helping the situation at all. Here's one hot take for you guys. Anon said, "Can we please kill the games are meant to be fun or entertaining line of belief?" Sure, Anon. Yes, we can. Games don't have to be fun and entertaining. Games can also be not fun and not entertaining. We usually describe those games as bad. Last time I checked, people don't like buying bad games, but hey, you can go make whatever bad games you like. Anon continues, "Games are art, which means that they're not meant to be anything other than what the artist envisions, which yes can be criticized, but they're not obliged to fit any specific purpose, even fun." I agree, Anon. Games don't really have to fit a specific purpose, or at least until the corporate executives tell you to, but that's for the games made by the big corpos, and they tend to make the worst crap. Let's just narrow this down to the indie games, or the AA games, games that are made by actually passionate people. I agree that games don't have a particular obligation. It could also be the artist's way of personal self-expression, but there's this very tiny little factor that I'm pretty sure affects a lot of video games. It's called profit. Last time I checked, the good majority of games, even indie games, are made to make profit. And in order to make profit, the games need to be entertaining, or at least fit to a specific purpose. I'm just saying, Anon. Anon continues by saying, "Just like any art, the only justification the game needs to have a right to exist is that the creator wanted it to. Whether it's good enough or done badly should not be a factor of that." Anon, we're not saying that you shouldn't make bad games. You can. We just won't buy it. If your games don't sell very well, you have only yourself to blame. Anon continues by saying, "Games will continue to be seen as toys." Okay, let me stop you right there, Anon. Yes, they are. Yes, they are toys. That's not a bad thing, by the way. I'm not saying that as a negative. Gunplas are toys, and yet they're freaking awesome. Games are toys. Awesome toys. But that's just it. That's just what they are. Pretending that it's a lot more than that only makes you sound pretentious and desperate for attention. But hey, forgive me for interrupting. Anon then says, "Games will continue to be seen as toys until they're accepted as a medium for making commentary on politics and society." Okay, Anon, you are absolutely pretentious. Accepted as a medium by whom? Who are you trying to please, Anon? Why should we be pleasing these people if they don't take our gaming hobby seriously in the first place? You can see the political elements in the games if you take a look at them, but there's a staggeringly low amount of media literacy from people. This Anon, for example, says that Bioshock shows how using lots of drugs is bad and that it could have been a great city if the citizens weren't shooting each other. No, Rapture falls because Andrew Ryan hates the working class. There's a reason why they're fighting each other. The plasmids are not the ones causing the destruction of Rapture, they're the ones accelerating that progress. But then the next Anon says that Bioshock shows how libertarian capitalism leads to fascism. No, you dingus! Regardless of what ideology that Andrew Ryan has, he cannot take criticism to the point where he even kills people for daring to criticize him. He shuts down anyone that dares to compete with him and doesn't provide his blue-collar workers, the working class people, any sorts of rights or safeguards like minimum wage. It's not because of his objectivist belief that he becomes a fascist dictator. It's that he's just an egotistical, hypocritical maniac. Point is, even if people recognize the political commentaries in those games, people's media literacy are incredibly freaking poor. People's understanding towards those concepts aren't always exactly as how you would envision them. Maybe this is the reason why there are loads of games that are more in your face with your politics, because if it's not in your face, then it's more open to interpretation. But one of the beautiful things about art is that they are open to interpretation. If you make it to serve just one side, it's no longer art. It's propaganda. And I feel like that's what a lot of entertainment media are gearing towards these days. And that's just a little taste of what I talk about in the APB show. There are loads more that I talk about on the stream, so go check out the last episode in my stream channel, link down below. That's all for the video today. If you like it, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me through the links down below. Stream channel link down below. Again, go subscribe, and thanks for watching.